Okay, I just wanted to do a very quick video just to say that in just a few days' time, on the 30th of November, we have the final lunar eclipse, which is a penumbral lunar eclipse, and this initiates the 9th hour on the timeline for the Gospel of John, 15th day. Okay, so we've got two first days of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, and this has been a divine revelation that began since 2014, that was initiated with the blood moon tetrad as 4 signs for the 4 night watches of Passover night on the night of Christ's betrayal. So these beige coloured moons are penumbral and partial lunar eclipses. So there are 3 lunar eclipses in total. So the total lunar eclipses, obviously blood moons, and the partial penumbral lunar eclipses are, in a sense, not as striking to see as a blood moon, but they are still lunar eclipses. A partial eclipse has like a bit taken out of the side or whatever on the top or bottom. It looks like a bit like the apple sign. And a penumbral just has a dimmer view of a full moon. So it's like gone down to like 80% brightness. So these are what the penumbral and partial lunar eclipses have looked like over the years, and then we had 3 more total lunar eclipses, and then we've had these, then there were 2 here, June and July. So in total there have been 16 lunar eclipses. Therefore we've got 8 here for the first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, and another 8 here for the repeated day of the first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread in the Gospel of John. So 16 lunar eclipses since 2014. Every lunar eclipse has been accounted for. And they are signs. Signs for night watches, for total lunar eclipses, which are blood moons. And the other 2 types of lunar eclipses, as I've just said, are partial and penumbral lunar eclipses, which are signs for day watches. So this will be the last one on this timeline. Now, if you wanted to find out about where it is in the world, you just go to your Google and just Google it, and it will show you. It's going to be seen over America area, but to be honest, I wouldn't worry too much. It's not anything, as I say, that's going to be striking. But it does initiate the 9th hour on the timeline, which is significant. So it's also significant in the sense as well because it is the last lunar eclipse. And then 2 weeks later, we've got the total solar eclipse, which is going to be seen on the 14th of December around Chile and Argentina area. And this one is the 5th and final total solar eclipse on this timeline. And these total solar eclipses are signs for nights. So that's why the day kind of transfers within the timeline of the 2 first days of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. So entering into the 9th hour as of the 30th of November is quite significant. And then I would say the 14th to the 15th of December is really the next high watch date. So these are the 4 night watches of Passover night on the night of his betrayal in the 3 synoptic Gospels, because it was Passover in the Gospels of Matthew, Mark and Luke, but it wasn't Passover in the Gospel of John. Yet Jesus is still betrayed in that same night, but it wasn't Passover, it was before Passover in the Gospel of John. And when Jesus is taken to Pontius Pilate in the morning, that's when we read in John 18 verse 28 that they are still to have the Passover in the Gospel of John. It's confirmed in John 19 verse 14 as well as in John 19 verse 31 that it was a high Sabbath when they put Jesus in the tomb 24 hours later. That high Sabbath is when the first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread begins, because a high Sabbath is connected to do with a feast day Sabbath. So it went dark during the day time for 3 hours when Jesus was on the cross. So a 3-hour time period on the timeline is 6 months. Then we had, obviously, as I've just shown you, 3 blood moons for the time period for the first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread to begin in the Gospel of John, and therefore this is where the 4th night watch happens. Okay, because it wasn't within this part, it was in the daytime, which explains why it went dark between the 6th to the 9th hours. Now the 6th hour of the day goes from 12 till 1 p.m. The 9th hour of the day goes from 3 till 4 p.m. That's why the Gospel of Matthew says about the 9th hour, and why the Gospel of John says about the 6th hour that Jesus was standing with Pontius Pilate in John 19 verse 14. So when it says about, it means within that hour. So that's why, looking from 30th of November onwards, we enter into the final phase of the transition point, going from the 3rd night watch into the 4th night watch as of the 14th of December, going into the 15th of December. I just wanted to do a quick video just as a way of reminder that the final lunar eclipse on this dual Passover night timeline will be happening in just a matter of a few days, and this really is the closing time period for this timeline. The next lunar eclipse that happens is in May 2021, and that would initiate 6 p.m. on this timeline, because obviously a blood moon is a sign for a night watch. So the fact that in May 2021 it becomes 6 p.m. again means that the first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread in the Gospel of John ends in May 2021, yet we know that Jesus gave up his spirit at the 9th hour, and that's when the resurrection happened, at the same moment in time, because the 17th day is paralleled over with the 9th hour. So it may happen at the full moon at this point here on the timeline, which was obviously back in 2017, and paralleled here would be the 30th of December, or the actual transformation may actually happen at the total solar eclipse, which is 2 weeks earlier, and this was when the rooster crows, going from the 3rd night watch into the 4th night watch, just like this is here on the 14th to the 15th of December. Going from the 3rd night watch into the 4th night watch is when the rooster crows in Mark 13 verse 35 to 37. Well, God bless you everybody, and have a great day.